walking up to get the Emmy, and I remember, this is no joke, I remember seeing Michael Douglas turn to somebody and go, who the fuck is she? I literally saw him go, I would say 99% of my work is failure to me. Husband was ill a few years ago. My God, it was really interesting and good material. And I think that about the worst moments of my life in a really terrible way sometimes. Divorce isn't failure, it's just some marriages are finite. It felt such an important message to say to people. And to go back, let's talk about The Wicked. Come on, I'm giving you...
Oh my God.
I do love a bit of the Kardashians. I think they are the closest thing we have to gods. If I was going to say the thing I regret most in the world is not...
Joining us now is an award-winning screenwriter and author, bringing us a festive treat as The Split returns for a 2-part special this Christmas, with a new Bridget Jones film landing next Valentine's Day as well, and a whole host of her work to enjoy, from reading This Is Not a Pity Memoir to watching The Iron Lady. She's truly a storytelling icon. Please welcome Abi Morgan.
Hi.
Hi, Abi.
Hello.
Hi.
I think your name has been mentioned more than any other name on this podcast since we started.
Well, it was worth paying for all that PR, wasn't it? I don't know how that... that's very nice to hear. I'm going to have to trawl back through the podcast and then save them. But yeah, that's nice to hear.
I think it started because I read your book and then recommended it.
Yeah.
And then we looked at The Split, which I'm also obsessed with. Poor Harry. He just gets this week in,
Well, we've
week
had a
out.
host of our listeners as well agreeing on Al's recommendations
We have.
with The Split and with the book. So,
Good
yeah.
taste.
We are thrilled that you're here. And actually, somebody last week on the episode on Tuesday, we're talking about The Hour.
Yeah, my gosh, that's a show. I think sometimes I've got a kind of graveyard of characters in my head, and so I just went to see Black Doves, which is absolutely brilliant. I saw I loved it, but I still get a sort of slight kind of twinge of pain when I see an actor I've loved and worked with and maybe been on a show that's got cancelled, and you think, oh God, I'll never work with Ben Whishaw again, I love him. But it's a bit like being a jealous lover when I see kind of actors that I did shows for, and so The Hour is really like that, because it was that was an amazing cast. It was like Dominic West, Romola Garai, Peter Capaldi, Ben Whishaw.
I love Peter Capaldi. He's great, isn't he?
Oh, God, amazing.
When you're writing these things, do you have actors in mind? Because often you see, the people that do the casting in these shows. Do you get involved with the casting, or do you have to leave it to the...
No, very... I think when you start out as a writer, that kind of exec producer credit, which you get sort of... You don't get it immediately, but you get it along the way. At the beginning, it's a vanity title, really. You sort of love saying, but actually the more experience I've got and the more jobs I've done, I absolutely lean into it. It's really vital. So I love everything from choosing of the HODs to the directors to the casting. And casting for me is like a fun kind of bingo I play in my head. I'm always I kind of circle a kind of 5 or 6 great actors, and they can be kind of crazy. They can be sort of left of field. And it doesn't always mean that I ever even expect to get them. But sometimes they're just a way for me to kind of inflate and kind of realise a character. And so I kind of go, this is a kind of Meryl part, or this is a Judi Dench part, or, Olivia Colman for everything. Or, so there's a little bit of that. I like doing that.
You won an Emmy, though, didn't you, for The Hour? And,
I did,
and since then, there's so much. Your body of work is incredible. And considering what you've been through, what you wrote about as well, and This Is Not a Pity Memoir, I just don't know. I don't know how you do your life, Abi.
But don't you think, I think if you're a creative of any type, be it a writer, presenter, in the world, actor, you realise how incredibly invaluable storytelling is. And actually people say that to me, but, the ruthless cold chip that runs through my icy heart is, my God, it was really interesting and good material. And I think that about the worst moments of my life in a really terrible way sometimes. It runs in parallel to some of the saddest moments of my life.
And crops up immediately.
Yeah. It's almost like an act of defence, but also I think it's an act of survival. And I think the way we, on a day-to-day level, we make sense of the world through stories, be it that we watch the news, we love, you love a drama, you love a radio show, you love a novel, but also I think if you're a living, breathing human being, particularly in the metropolis of London, there's so much stories going on around you. I spend my whole time looking at everyone else. I remember when my kids were little, they'd constantly grab me by the chin and turn my face, because wherever we were, I'd be captivated by someone on a bus, or someone somewhere in the theatre, or wherever it would be, a restaurant. And so I guess when the crap hits the fan, the shit hits your own life, then you really kind of, that is how I made sense of it. And I definitely talk to make sense of the world. You know, I talk out loud a lot. I've got this VWID4 and it's so sensitive to voice control that it's constantly going, what would you like me to do? As I drive home. Because I'm yabbering away to myself. But I think I think everything that happened, you know, sort of whatever, it's like 6.5 years ago now, my husband got incredibly ill and then I got ill and we went through this very tumultuous time. And I started to I realised how much, you know, writing was essential to me, not just in my love and my joy of storytelling, but in making sense of my own world, really.
And you are writing a film version of the book now.
Yeah, it's taken a long time for me to feel like I can do it because I just don't want to, you know, I've adapted books a lot and often amazing novels from, you know, Birdsong through to Brick Lane through to, you know, Claire Tomlin's Invisible Woman, you know, beautiful books. But I always feel like there's a process of reinvention and you have to have another reason to do it beyond just sort of inflating the book. And so I've really tried to think about how I can progress that storytelling. So yeah, I'll start writing it in the new year.
So when Harry asked earlier about, you know, do you think about actors?
Yeah.
I mean, now you're thinking about somebody to play yourself and Jacob, your husband.
Yeah, although what's so funny is that, you know, as the years have rolled on, I realised that actors are going to get older and older. Yeah, I mean, totally. I've always got someone in mind. I often have actors in mind very early on, and yet there are surprises. Like when I wrote a show called River a few years ago, and I sort of had an amalgam of actors, and then left of field, Stellan Skarsgård came on board. And, you know, there are just some people, I don't know what it is, there are certain alchemies to actors, and I think it's something to do with being deeply centred in themselves, and I think there are a handful of people who have it. I think from Olivia Colman to Meryl Streep to Nicola Walker to Ben Whishaw, there is something very particular. They can be anyone else, but they're always themselves. And so Stellan came onto that, and I think there was that moment where you get a great actor where you think, oh, there's no one else who could have played that, and you very quickly dissolve maybe the fantasy or the kind of Frankenstein of 3 or 4 actors you had in your head. But when an actor takes a role, that's when you really see that transformation. I never understand if I always say this, if I'm the birth mother, if I'm the surrogate, if I'm the architect or the builder, but there's something about when actors come on board and adopt your child, it totally becomes their own. So yeah, I definitely have. But I think choosing myself is impossible. You know, it's normally, I go from anybody. I mean, the dream would be Olivia Colman.
Oh my God.
But, you know, then I go, you know, I can move into Dawn French. I can go into, it depends, you know, I'm always sort of shape-shifting because you also have to be able to shape-shift. Yeah. Because your dreams get killed all the time. And I'm quite fatalistic about things. I think, well, you were the only actor who could play it anyway. So I tend to, you know, and actually I always try and keep, you know, the reason why I've written so much, people always say, God, you're so prolific. And it's like, well, I have to pay my bills, you know, so it's like an accountant.
It's a job.
You don't go, my God, you do someone's tax every single year.
Yeah, well, do you know, that's what I was thinking. What strikes me is it's obviously a passion of yours.
Yeah.
And but it's your job as well, right?
It's totally my job, and also I come from that world. You know, I'm a real kind of, I'm like the poor end of Nepo baby. You know, like if you imagine the kind of Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt is the top end. I'm at the bottom, which is my dad was a theatre maker and a theatre director, and then moved into telly. And my mum is 86 and still working. You know, jobbing actress. And so it was so feast and famine when I was growing up, and so it wasn't some kind of, you know, a sort of imagined world. It wasn't some sort of fantasy. It was how we paid our bills or didn't pay our bills as well. So I always say, you know, if your dad's a plumber, you probably can unblock a sink. Or I can sort of, I was a terrible actress, but I just watched plays from such an early age. So it's very much just, it's just normal for me.
That's what I say to people as well, though, who want to talk to me, say, about music and want to become a musician. How do you get into it? I think the thing is, it's so hard to be successful. And a lot of it is luck, particularly in my world. But what I was trying to remind people, and I don't know if it would be the same advice that you'd have for writers and creatives, is as long as you're always enjoying it.
I mean, you know more than anything, that feeling on a Monday morning where you're looking at I don't know what it would be for a musician, a blank page of score, or you know, a blank page for a write, you know, if you're a composer, I guess. But you have to. And I think, you know, I was at the Biffers last night, and I was watching, and it was A, I was the oldest person in the room, genuinely. But B, it was just such a beautiful atmosphere to be in, see these young filmmakers, young directors, young writers. And I felt really buzzed for them. And I thought, this is so fun. And we've all at some point touched a bit of gold. We've all had those moments of awards, but my God, it goes quickly. I mean, for example, when I won the Emmy, I was literally the only one out there. I went with me and my husband. We were already working out, do you think we'd be out in time to go and have an In-N-Out burger? It was so, and I remember walking up to get the Emmy, and I remember, this is no joke, I remember seeing Michael Douglas turn to somebody and go, and I could see him say, can I swear?
Yeah.
I could see him say, who the fuck is she? I literally saw him go, who the fuck is she? And in that moment, I thought, God, this is glorious, and it's going as quick as that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I always try and tell young writers. I mentor a lot. My company, we try and take writers. We're just starting a thing where we take a group of writers away every year for a week, and what I try not to do is say, don't look at the gold shelf, don't look at those are great, those are icing, they're so fun, like last night was so fun, but it is not where you are going to get fed. And in fact, it's dangerous to get fed from that place, because you're just chasing success and you won't get it. Actually, where you get fed is just sitting in your own sort of stew of thoughts, and it's painful and it's difficult. And the other thing is, I say, nothing comes of nothing. You have to write crap every single day. I mean, I would say, and this is no disrespect to the incredible creators I've worked with, but I would say 99% of my work is failure to me. So every time I watch a show, I never sit there going,
nailed it.
You are good, I've nailed it. I always sit there going, just not good enough.
And I mean, if you say that 90% of the stuff that you write you don't like, you're not happy with, I can't wait to hear what your watch list is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
okay.
you are the don of recommendations, Abi Morgan.
God, you may find it quite lowbrow, some of it.
No.
We're pretty lowbrow, don't we?
We are super lowbrow, so no. Okay, so what have you watched recently and enjoyed? Give us a flavour of who you are, kind of when you're away from your own writing desk and watching TV and you're looking for something entertaining.
Do you know, I always feel like I'm quite schizophrenic as a writer. People will often say to me, oh, God, you like so many different things. And I'm a little bit like that in terms of my watch list. So what have I loved at the moment? Black Dove's amazing cast, elegant, Ben Whishaw, anything with Ben Whishaw. He brings a heartbeat to any show. Keira Knightley, so beautiful to see her transition into TV.
And hasn't aged.
Has not aged, and my God,
she looks
that
the
hair.
same age as
I just want to like sit on the sofa and just brush her hair. She's so, but also she's just smart, super smart. And then Sarah Lancashire, who, I was watching thinking, God, I love you so much. You're such an amazing actress. I really hope I get to... And then I thought, oh my God, I wrote my first thing and she was the lead, and I'd forgotten because she was so different in this. So I love her. So I really enjoy that. I love espionage stuff. So I'm big on that. I just saw The Agency, which is the remake of The Bureau, which is a French show with Michael Fassbender. Fantastic actor. Again, I think we're in this really exciting time in television. It's been happening for the last 10 years, but that transition of film actors into TV is so great.
And what's that on? The Bureau.
The Agency is on Paramount, and Black Doves is on Netflix. Netflix. So that's my kind of slightly more highbrow. I want to say I love Wolf Hall. I've tried with Wolf Hall. It's so smart and so intelligent. And I really love Mark Rylance in it, but I have to Google every single character. I got my Cromwells mixed up, and I thought, I'm sure we're going to have a revolution at some point, and got that all mixed up. But so that I have that, and then I have the kind of comedy pool, which is I really just enjoyed Nobody Wants This, which was just fun and joyful and just romantic, and I love a bit of escapism. So anything with a love story. I mean, from the lowbrow trash, I will watch, and I will even scroll through for the romantic beats.
But everybody needs a bit of Nobody Wants This.
Well, also for me, Nobody Wants This was actually laugh out loud.
Oh, it's
laugh out loud.
Brilliant.
Whereas
funny.
Often like rom-coms, they're just really enjoyable, and you're smiling, you're watching. It's a cozy watch. Whereas Nobody Wants This, I was genuinely laughing out loud. It
reminded me I had a sense of humour, because I spent a lot of time going, why am I not laughing? And yet everyone's finding this funny.
You say you've mentioned a programme. I think it's a programme. Somebody Somewhere.
Yeah, gorgeous. So it's Bridget Everett. It's American show. It's about a woman in her 40s called Sam who goes back to Kansas, to her hometown, to look after her dying sister. Doesn't sound great, I know. But she reconnects with someone from her school. And it's basically about kind of small town living. It's about a kind of group of oddballs who find each other. It's totally charming. I think it's on its third, fourth series now.
Where is that then?
It's an HBO show.
That's a series, is it?
It's a series, yeah. It's a series.
now.
And it's totally joyful. It's got singing. There's a choir that they're part of. She's got the most amazing voice, Bridget Everett. And it's sort of based loosely on her life story. And it's just that very indie, off the wall comedy, which I love. It's the kind of, in a way, I think that's also what's happened with telly, because we've had this incredible golden age where streamers have pumped so much money. A lot of those shows that would have probably originated in the the movie houses have all changed. They've kind of moved into television. So there's that, I think that sort of falls into that bracket. And in a way, not unlike Nobody Wants This, which again is a kind of rom-com, which in another life would have been a single film.
Yeah, I think you can watch it as well on Apple TV, which is always good to know, isn't it?
So what we often ask our guests is there a particular show, film or book that you revisit when you need a sort of a comfort watch? When you're maybe feeling... For me, it was, the classic, it's Friends. I remember breaking up with my girlfriend back in the day and I just found myself cozied up on the sofa with a duvet watching Friends.
Yeah, well, I've got a huge love of Friends because my husband was ill a few years ago and Friends was literally his road back to coming back to us, because I remember... He's got the most amazing sense of humour and he would watch it completely stony-faced for the first few months of his rehab, and then we started to hear his laughter come through the house. And it was just... So that show I will forever be grateful for. In fact, I saw a great photo the other day of all of the Friends cast, and it was the night before the first episode was screened.
Wow.
And it says something like, this is the night before they became famous. And it was just, you could see this moment of change. Yeah, I mean, in terms of rom-coms, I love Nora Ephron. So it's like When Harry Met Sally and whole period of, and, I love You've Got Mail, any of that kind of, anything with a Christmas tree and something cute in the middle of it. I love
Abby.
it. There's something about Christmas, those Christmas films I love. So I revisit that. Tootsie I go back to again and again because I think it's just the most amazing, amazing script, which is Dustin Hoffman film, which, still got some killer lines. What else did I say? I've forgotten.
Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. Pride and Prejudice.
I actually love the book, the novel. A, I love the novel. B, I love the Joe Wright Pride and Prejudice, which it's a very commercial choice, but it's the most beautiful bit of filmmaking ever. Every detail of that is telling the character's story, and I think Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden are amazing in that film.
We do sometimes talk about books, hence why yours came up. Are you a big reader?
I pretend I'm a big reader.
Same.
So I do. I read a lot of reviews and go, yeah, no, I thought it was amazing. There's a lot of Booker Prize conversations where I'll go, I know, I've just read it.
What I do is a good one is listen to the audiobook and then claim you've read it.
I actually do more audio, funny enough. I find because I drive everywhere, I kind of listen a lot so I do look. No, I'm not a big reader, but I probably try and read 6 to 8 books a year. I try, and that's a lot. That's quite a lot.
That's reasonable.
And also, I'm often reading books for work, so I read a lot of books because I have to.
Has anything stood out this year that you've read?
I just read The Safekeep, which was really beautiful, which is a kind of gay love story set in post-war Vienna, and it's really beautiful about a woman who it's about this kind of interloper who comes to stay in this house and the kind of discovery of the secrets of this family, which I loved. I love David Nichols. He's also a friend, so
can't go wrong.
You Are Here is brilliant. But
Yes.
I think if you go back to, and actually the trajectory of his novels really marry with my sort of journey of living in London, and so I can sort of see so many aspects of and he's about the same age as me, so I feel like it hits at every moment. And one day was very significant for me when I saw it and read it. So I love David Nichols, probably that would be up there, and also Sally Rooney. I enjoyed Intermezzo, so I didn't love it as much as Normal People, but I did enjoy it.
Normal People still for me is one of the most enjoyable television series.
Yeah, I look at Normal People. I'm trying to work. It's a beautiful adaptation by Alice Birch, who's a fantastic writer. And I guess it was that moment of alchemy between those two actors, wasn't it? In terms of Paul Mescal and the Daisy Edgar Jones of it, there's something that happened, I think. But I've watched that show so many times. And there's something about, I think Sally Rooney writes really amazing dialogue, but I think Alice Birch has found such a restraint, which is unusual because actually I think Sally Rooney's writing is brilliant on the kind of intimacy and the kind of universality, but the kind of idiosyncrasy of love and romance. And I guess for most people, what really connects, and that's from my 20-something kids now through to my mother, is that we all remember that first time of falling in love. And there's just something beautiful about the architecture of that journey from being sort of 16 through to early 20s. And so it's got a kind of magic whisper, that show, and I can't put my finger on what it is. And then Lenny Abrahamson, who's directed it, and Hetty MacDonald did the second half of that show. It's just a beautiful realisation of a really beautiful novel, which I think is an even better television show.
Are there things, Abby, that do you watch things and think, oh, I wish I would have written that? Is there something that stands out?
White Lotus.
Mainly
because I tell you, no disrespect to Newport or Newquay or any other place in the UK, but when you meet your friends who are going off to write, and we've shot it on in Hawaii, you think, God, I made a mistake to do my piece in Swansea. I love the mumbles. I love the mumbles, but I'm just saying,
mumbles are nice, but it's got to be sunny.
But let's be honest. Yeah, I think it's just basically that's kind of Agatha Christie in a nutshell, and they've managed to relocate that from Sicily through to Hawaii and now I think in Thailand. So I guess that would be one of the shows I wish I'd written. And then again, I think I wish I was as good as Alice Birch to write Normal People, because that restraint is very, very clever.
I like a good cry, Abby.
Yeah, I like a good cry.
I think it's cathartic and nice, and it's good to have a good cry. What's the best series that you've watched where you've had a good cry and you've enjoyed it?
Oh, well, can I confess it? Okay. I just went to see a movie, actually, which really made me sob, which is called We Live in Time. Nick Payne.
I was hoping you were going to say Wicked then.
I'll come back to Wicked. Put a pin in that, because I'll come back to that.
Everything comes back to Wicked with Harry.
All the yellow brick road leads us back.
It does.
So We Live in Time.
We Live in Time, Nick Payne, and it's Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. And it's about a couple, and it's from the point they meet to the end of their love story. I don't give anything away. I don't want to give anything away.
Alex is sold on the picture.
It made me sob from beginning to end. And actually I went to see it on a Friday night with my husband, and we were in a tiny little screening room, and I was so embarrassed because it was such a small room, and all you could hear was me go from like day one. But
so this is in the cinema now, is it?
It's coming out. It's about to come out.
We Live in Time. Well,
We Live in Time. It's written by Nick Payne. He wrote a brilliant play called Constellations, and
yes, the one where they play with different various couples. Don't they, in
what's
the West
beautiful
End?
is this couple, but they really play around with time in it.
Oh, so it's out on the 1st of January.
And I love the alchemy between the two of them, but I really love Florence Pugh as a kind of, I think she's such a sort of contemporary role model, really. And there's something so kind of rock chick about her, punk rock, that's what I mean.
That is
she's
a
so
hell of a
rock.
recommendation.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that film.
We have to talk about the two things that you've got coming up, though.
Yeah.
Mainly The Split. So this is on over Christmas.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with the 3 series that we saw on BBC One and iPlayer. Amazing. And is this concluding the story, or is this, how would you describe what we'll see over Christmas?
Well, I think it's, I fell in love with that family working with them. And, there's a sweet spot with relationship drama, where nobody gets killed and there's not some big investigation and there's no spaceship that collapses and they have to kind of solve the problems of the universe. It's basically, it's the day-to-day domestic drama. And I guess the thing that was really great about writing The Split, and I started it, I was writing it through some really tumultuous periods in my life, was that it's always just been this place where I could share all those kind of idiosyncratic relationships from, relationships between grandmother and granddaughter, or between sisters or mothers and daughters. And so I just love that alchemy of those characters. And so I think the chance for the BBC, when they would the BBC were incredibly supportive of that show. I loved writing it. But I always make myself move on. Even I kind of go, come on, you've got to try something new, because it's partly actually also about, it's great when you occupy a space, but you want other writers to come in and you need to go away and rethink it. So I went away and went, I'm going to stop at 3. I'd always conceived it as 3. It was always going to be The Split was meant to be about the internal split in the family, but ultimately it was about seeing a marriage that looked like it was rock solid and taking it to a place of kind of it at its end. And it really came out of that desire because my parents went through a divorce. I had so many girlfriends going through divorces, and I wanted to take away A, the taboo and B, the shame of it, and kind of go, we know all those different versions of blended families, and yeah, we know it's complicated and painful and heartbreaking, but we also know that it's life. And actually this idea that, divorce isn't failure, it's just some marriages are finite, felt such an important message to say to people. And so I think this was like a chance to have my version of Mamma Mia and to go away and have this. I finally got to go somewhere hot. It was Barcelona. It was very nice. Okay, it wasn't Hawaii, but it was really lovely. And they're just a glorious family and a glorious group of actors.
So it's called the Split Barcelona,
It's called the Split
isn't
Barcelona,
it?
and it's the whole of the family go away for this amazing destination wedding. And it's about the makeups and breakups and the kind of hen nights to the after wedding brunches, and it's about what goes wrong until everything goes right again, really. And it was just a really lovely way of bringing those characters together and kind of giving them a send off. I never say never, because I do love those people, but the truth is they're damn successful, those actors, and they go on and do other work.
And one of the other big moments next year will be Bridget Jones.
This is massive.
Oh,
this is big.
I can't wait. I mean, it's nearly worth having 2025 just for that reason alone.
She's a beautiful character, Bridget, and sort of I've kind of grown up with her. Helen Fielding is just a master at her craft. And, that, to be absolutely honest about that film, there, I've played a tiny part in it. I've written on the films before, and this time round, we've helped, Helen did a really beautiful script, and then I came in and brought in a bit of emotion, and then Dan Mazer brought in so much more and so much of the funny.
So you bring in the emotion, and then they'll have a bit of help with the comedy.
Yeah, and then
she's the backbone.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a really blended script, but the truth of it is it really comes back to Helen and her voice and Bridget at its heart. What's interesting about Bridget is we're seeing Bridget now in her 50s. We're seeing Bridget post, we're seeing her sort of grow up.
Yeah.
So that, she's 20 odd years, we've seen her go from kind of late 20s, early 30s through to in her early 50s. So that's a real ask, actually, to bring her into the 21st century.
And then how, because Helen Fielding, I mean, she is quite similar to Bridget, isn't she? I'm sure she wouldn't mind us saying that. But so does she write the script and then she goes, oh, Abby, this bit here I could do with a bit of help, this bit? Or how does it, or does she give you the whole thing and you go, oh, what about doing this bit a little bit different?
I mean, I think I've done a lot of, it's rewriting, really. I've done a lot of rewriting on movies, and it's a very particular craft. So Michael Morris, who's the director on this, has done an amazing job. I think what you're seeing is a really grown-up film. It's a really beautiful grown-up film, and I think you really see her. There's a real tenderness. It's very, very funny, but actually there's a real heart to this film, and I'm sure Helen wouldn't mind saying it's about it's about this period in her life, and it's about raising two children on your own, and so there's something. It's a lovely to see Renee go into that kind of being a mother in this, so that's great. And I guess what normally happens is Helen did some really muscular work on the script, and then the director came on board and they're evolving it, and so then you're brought on to just do draft after draft. In film writing you're paid per draft, so it's definitely, there's a real art to coming in and doing your draft. So
Bridget Jones is out. It's called Mad About the Boy. It's out on Valentine's Day. Perfect.
So here's a new question that we've been asking our guests. I think we've only done Michael Ball so far with this one.
Go on.
It's a very original concept. It's called Desert Island Binge.
Oh, I like
totally
that.
Original.
Okay.
So what's the one podcast, one TV show, and one book that you would take to a desert island?
So if I had to choose my podcast, it would be Smartless with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes and Will Arnett. Very, very funny. Love them all individually as actors. Just hysterical to see them all in the same room together. It's my husband, Jake, who got me into this podcast. And in fact, that's one of the greatest things that I love doing with him, is swapping podcasts. And I just love the guests they get on. They're very, very funny together. So I definitely would take that on my desert island. And it would make me think of my husband. And that would be a nice thing. If I was going to binge, does it have to be, is it sort of truly low denominator
It's
telly?
whatever you want.
Oh, it can, Abby, we're not fussy. You whatever you want.
Well, I don't know if I should take this as my kind of opus, but I do love a bit of the Kardashians. If I'm absolutely honest, if I just want to rest the frontal lobe of my brain, if I just want to surf, if I want to completely obliterate, I think it's my form of binge eating, actually. I just sit there and it's like I just consume it. And I find them fascinating. And I'm not going to say they're stupid because I think they are so freaking smart, those women. And the reason why I think they're smart is because I don't think you last that long and have that level of, business acumen and to have Chris at the top. But also it's the access you have at that level where you meet really intelligent people. So I think they are absolutely fascinating. I think they are the closest thing we have to gods.
Amazing. What
Okay.
about books then? Can be an audiobook, it doesn't matter.
Oh God, okay.
Maybe one that's just struck you over the years.
Well, I do love a bit of David Nichols. Okay, escapism for David. If I could take the kind of whole of David Nichols kind of genre of
The
book,
box set.
if I could take the box set David Nichols, that would be nice because I find his he loves Thomas Hardy, and I think there's something about David, which is I think he's a sort of modern day Thomas Hardy. So he writes these beautiful domestic, but really kind of heartfelt books. So everything from One Day, which I absolutely love, but his other ones, which I love The Understudy, which is one of his earliest. Starter for 10 is very funny. Straight the way through.
And You Are Here is good.
You Are Here is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a more grown up romance, but also I think Us is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, Us is great.
So it's
as
about
well.
that moment when your
That's a
kids
good
leave
choice.
home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would do a bit of David Nichols, I think.
Box set David Nichols.
Yes, please.
Bit of a
Yeah.
cheat. Bit of
I'll
a
take
cheat,
him as well,
guys. Bit
actually,
of a
because
cheat.
he's good fun. He's interesting.
Well,
bit of a
lovely.
cheat. Yes, you're right.
But can he build you a boat to get off the desert
I don't
island? No.
feel he
You won't
doesn't
need
strike
one if
me
you've
as
got all
that
those
type.
He'd be
books.
good as a dinner party. So if it was just him and me, it'd be good chat. You get
Good chat. Okay, good chat.
Amazing. Abby, thank you so much. We should say The Split Barcelona will be on BBC One, 9 o'clock on the 29th and 30th of December. Oh my God, I cannot wait. And then, of course, Bridget Jones, February, Valentine's Day. Maybe we should do a watch along.
Yes, yeah, we're talking about doing watch-alongs. We could do the Bridget Jones watch-along.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a thumbs up and an okay sign from the producer. That's
Yeah.
good.
Brilliant. Thank you
No.
for having me.
Amazing.
Thanks
you,
for
Abby.
coming
Thanks
on.
a lot.
Thank you.